of the streets, you know what I'm saying, dog? You know, we're not coming from professional view. We're not lawyers, none of that shit that's on TV, you know what I'm saying? We come straight from the hood, the hood view, you know? Representation of black people, period, on the bench, because we don't know who Clarence Thomas is representing. Probably sitting on a Supreme Court, sitting on a bench, smelling like cocoa butter.
Yep. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Live. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight for show. You know, one reason why I'm here is the debates. I can't wait. You know what I'm saying, Di? It's been a long build up for this one, you know? Building up the two face-to-face. Biden and Trump. It's showtime, baby. You know what I'm saying, Di? It's showtime.
Change minds tonight at this debate to sort of, you know, show people that he is strong, that he can still do another 4 years as commander-in-chief.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I think this is top of their list, is showing that part of it is energy, part of it is being commanding and how he's answering questions, and it is about how you make people feel. So that strength piece, and the place where he has clearly a weakness according to that poll, but other polls as well, is a place where I think is top of their agenda tonight. And some of it is energy and stamina through the course of the debate.
Jen Psaki, Hogan Gidley, we thank you so much for joining our special coverage. I do want to go to someone else tonight right now, live here in the spin room, a Biden camp representative, Representative Jasmine Crockett. We thank you so much for joining us in our special coverage. I want to play a clip for our viewers first, and it'll make sense after when I ask you these questions, but you had a viral moment. You know which clip I'm going to run. Let's play it.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing. I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
All right, and to be fair here, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene first came after you, and then you obviously had your rebuttal.
That's right.
I brought this up because this can happen right now in politics, right? Someone can say something nasty, something personal, and then viewers, citizens, the people you represent, it all gets lost and it's worth nothing. How does President Biden make sure that a moment like that doesn't happen on the debate stage?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really important question because Marjorie Taylor Greene is consistently modeling herself after Trump. This is what Trump does. He goes out, he attacks.
First of all, this is my baby.
Serious committee hearing in which we were dealing with a serious issue, but she wasn't focused on that issue. Instead, she wanted to insult me. But I want people to recognize the Democrats are strong. That was one of the last questions that y'all just talked about. We are strong and we can hit. When we hit hard and we hit in a very intelligent way. And that's what you saw come out of me. That's what I absolutely believe will happen with this president. I think that if Trump gets out of line, he will shut him down in a very interesting way, but he will also redirect the focus back to the people because that.
Now, hold on. This is important right here because I had a conversation about how the campaign was being ran, and you know what I'm saying, what are they doing and what not doing and what they should do. And one of my recommendations was you need to get her in the campaign. You know what I'm saying? That it sounds like she's a senior something now, so I guess she in it.
Those voters.
Listen, I wish I could say that polls had the final say so because we never would have had a Trump
problem. You have to acknowledge it's poll after poll showing it's a problem.
And I'm not saying that there isn't, but here's the deal. I think that what we're seeing out of the polls is that what we always said, or what was always being said, which is that no one wanted to see the two of these people be the nominee. And people fought against it and fought against it and fought against it. But when it came down to it, overwhelmingly, these two people became the nominees. And so ultimately, I think what you're seeing in this polling is that people are saying, you know what? We're not really that excited, but I can tell you that on the issues, Democrats win. We have been overperforming in every single election. In fact, we're swinging elections by more than 20 points.
How do you explain young black men gravitating towards President Trump?
I don't actually believe that one.
That's not happening.
Be honest, I don't believe that one. Now, granted, it may be true, So for me,
the sake
it's
of
a matter of,
argument, if it's true, if he is pulling voters away, why do you think that is?
I have no idea. So I guess that's why I don't believe it. But I will
But
say
if you
this.
have no idea, how do you win them back?
So no. But I think that we need to have the conversations. I think that we need to talk to all people, including Black men, and we need to tell them that this administration is trying to make sure that you have opportunities to open that business, that you have the funding that you need for that business. We just saw what Trump's Supreme Court did to the Fearless Fund. These are Black women that were trying to support Black businesses, and they shut that down. That is what we are going to get out of the Trump administration. We want to make sure that people in this country have opportunities of all colors, but we've got to tell their story. We've got to talk about the fact that this administration made it to where we actually started more small businesses, Black-owned small businesses, than had been done in history. We need to talk about the fact that there are more judges that have been put on this court by anybody. When you combine them, this president has appointed more African Americans.
Representative Crockett, we thank you so much for joining us here, and good luck tonight in the debate. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll speak to Black voters after the break, plus what media insiders think about this debate's new rules. Will they keep the candidates on topic? Our special coverage of this historic.
Wait. See, that'd be that bullshit when they start talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna talk to Black voters. Fuck out of here. I can't find a Black motherfucker on earth that's been polled or whatever the fuck. So I don't know what the fuck they be getting this shit from, to be honest with you. Half of that should be made up. But when they say that shit in general, everybody know a Black person in their family or wherever the fuck they know them at that say, oh yeah, I fuck with Trump because it's such and such and such. Everybody got that person. You know what I'm saying? But everybody know that person really don't know the facts of anything. And they just really going off just the personality, you know? But in the end, just like she said, most of those people don't fucking vote. Really. If it's a person out there, a Black man out there, right, that at this point is voting for Trump or like Trump, whatever the fuck, it's because he ignorant to the fucking facts. It's because he ain't done no research. It's because that individual literally just want to be the person to go against the grain. Literally. That's it. Because if you go down each and every category of what the fuck people need in their lives, Biden and Democrats are the ones supplying that. And you look at all those same situations, Republicans are the ones trying to take all that away. It's just real simple. And then when they get a chance to do anything, is give all the money that's in the government to the richest Americans. Like they don't have enough fucking money. So that's the problem right there. It don't get no simpler than. See, that's why I can't wait for this debate, bro. Woo-wee! I can't wait. Because I can't imagine, first of all, first of all, with the mics out, I can't imagine Trump having some absolute knowing what he's saying about certain shit, bro. It's like, I know for a fact, it is no way he gonna get on there and act like he knows something or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So I know since the fact that the mic's off, it's slowed down and there's no crowd, it's almost irrelevant anyway, because he gonna still be fucking talking. Even though we as an audience can't hear him, Biden can hear his motherfucking loud ass right beside him. You know what I'm saying? So it don't even change for Biden. He can still hear him talking over him. So therefore, you're gonna hear Biden talking, but you ain't gonna be able to hear Trump talk, but you're gonna hear Biden stuttering and stopping because he jumping in. We can't hear him, but Biden can hear. You know what I'm saying? So that's almost irrelevant for them to mute mics, because you're just muting the mic for the audience. Biden still hear him. You know what I'm saying? He's still gonna be stumbling and bumbling and jumping him over top of Biden while he's talking. It ain't gonna change. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just think throughout this motherfucking debate, Biden gotta do two things: get every information out as possible, shit that he has already done, and then let everybody know what he want to do to continue that shit. Then, when he get the first chance to talk about convictions, Don't even say you're a convicted felon, Trump, because everybody fucking know that. What you gotta do is be like, all right, Trump. The only way I could be a convicted felon like yourself, if I was to go through trial for giving Americans health care, if I was to go through trial for 15 million new jobs, if I was to go to trial for capping insulin for $35, if I were to go through trial, you know what I'm saying, and just keep hitting it like that, boom, 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 then yeah, I would have no problem being a convict like you, Don. You know what I'm saying, Come on, man. You got to put me in the campaign, bro. You got to put a nigga like me because I don't give a fuck. Here we go with these jackasses.
So I'm trying to see what he has to offer in the next 4 years, and if he's clear on what it is that agenda is too as well. So I want to hear him out tonight. This might be a deciding factor for me.
What is the issue that you're listening for the most?
You don't have one.
The economy, things that's going on in the economy.
Like what?
What? Supporting other nations. I'm saying supporting the war and not promoting for peace in the war.
What?
The prices of housing, gas, all these things are affecting us today. So
You want those things to be addressed?
yes.
Sharon, why are you still with President Biden right now?
I'm still with President Biden because I think that there just aren't that many other choices for this.
Trump for you is not an option.
No,
Why
Trump
not?
is not an option. I don't agree with a lot of the policies that he's enacted. I'm very concerned about some of the think groups that are supporting him and what they have in store for the future, which doesn't include people that look like me. I'm very concerned about that.
Seth, you voted for Biden in 2020. Right now, you're withholding your support. What can he say on that stage tonight to get your support back?
I did vote for Biden in 2020. I voted uncommitted in the primary. It's really hard to vote for somebody who is actively supporting genocide in Gaza.
Oh my God.
Young people, people of color, pro-peace have been sending a message to Biden now for months and months and months. And he's signaling, but he has not said, we're not sending any more arms to Israel. He's not using his full power to push for a ceasefire and peace. And I really need to see that. Also, the things Will said, I need Biden and the Democratic Party to acknowledge that the economy is not great for working people. And I need them to have a policy to address it because housing inflation, food costs, everything is through the roof. People are really struggling. And I feel like we're being gaslit by the Democratic Party, who's telling us the economy is great and there's no problems.
Well, let's see what we hear on that debate
Who the
stage. I
hell
think that
told
gives
you
you a
no
sense of
problem?
what we see in polling, where you have economy is number one issue for voters, and you're hearing that reflected in these voters.
All right, shut up. First of all, let me address a few things out of this bullshit before I move on. 3 black people. One, the first black dude say concerned with what America do with overseas. That's his top problem. And then the economy. Bro, wherever you fucking live at, I guarantee you, there's black kids getting murdered in the street by guns. I guarantee you, wherever you live at, black people are getting priced out of the fucking hood. And the first fucking thing you say is your top priority is overseas. That's the shit it is. Then the next lady, she comes up. She voted for Biden. But now, she don't like either choice. But she won't vote for Biden because she don't like Trump. Really? Really though? What is the other choice you was looking for? What we want? I'm confused. There's a black lady on the ticket, young, ready to go. So what it is you looking for, black lady? She don't know. But cool. You voting for Biden, so I don't care. Then we get this fool on the end. Again, to me, white people really have a choice. You know what I'm saying? To me, a black person don't have no fucking choice in this. That's a racist pig. That's where it stops. But white people have a choice to jump over the racism and say, fuck it, what about something else? Is something else I can see about you? You know what I'm saying? So he has a choice. And he gonna say the war on Gaza and prices in motherfucking grocery stores. Here we go again with the Gaza shit. Well, we in this country, USA, you expect our president to run somebody else's country and really hold that to him. And then on top of that, they're gonna say, I don't know what I'm gonna do because of that. What is the other jackass about to do with it? Make it worse than what you thought this was. So just getting to be real jackassery when they pull fools out and supposed to be independence, because this is getting dumb. There's no independence. If you don't know what the fuck is going on between these two, it's because you're not researching and you're not paying the fucking attention. It's just the bottom fucking line. This other fool been running for 9 years. How the fuck you don't know what the fuck? Come on, man. Other one been president. Both of them been president.
They're going to try to blend into the background, not be a part of the story. And, I interviewed a bunch of former moderators for Vanity Fair this week. They say that's the right strategy. That's what Kristen Welker did in 2020. Let the candidates debate, make a debate happen on stage. So that's what I think we're going to see. But, we're in an environment where political lines.
Well, you had issues like, please say his top problem is his pockets, right?
Pressure the moderators will feel
that's
to
the thing.
check.
Okay, that's your problem. Check in and see who's doing something about your
Is going to be the person who presses the microphone mute button, because how those microphones are muted is going to have a lot to do with this debate.
Again, fuck the muted mic.
A historic job, Brian. I do want to ask you that since you brought it up, right? Because you were an anchor at CNN. You spent a lot of time, and CNN still spends a lot of time on fact checking and giving former President Trump a platform. How is this playing out for CNN? Because there's not going to be real time fact checks. They have telegraphed this. They're telling viewers this. They're going to have fact checks in a separate way. But is this okay with the rest of CNN?
Look, there's tremendous pressure on CNN right now. The reputational risk is very high because we've never seen an individual television network in the modern age hold a general election debate in this way. So the pressure is sky high. They do have dozens of people who've been preparing for many weeks for this. But it all comes down to this question that all of us as journalists have been grappling with for years about when to interject, when to interrupt, and when not to. I think when it comes to a debate, we're going to see the bar being set pretty high. The pressure is going to be on Biden to fact check Trump and on Trump to fact check Biden.
Brian Stelter, Greg Bluestein, two great minds covering media and politics. We appreciate it. Coming up, Lara Trump, former President Trump's daughter-in-law and newly appointed RNC co-chair. She joins us now live. What she knows about Trump's strategy heading into tonight.
I guarantee you it's a lunatic.
More of our special pre-debate coverage.
I guarantee.
I'm Billy, a content creator, coach, and business owner. If I had to start my business from zero, I would have focused on.
I don't even know who the new communications director is, right? I have no clue, no idea. But I guarantee you it's a lunatic. So I'm at the point where if you can vote for somebody that's a complete jackass, lunatic, racist, pig, crook, convict, like it's just like, what is the person that you won't vote with? Like if a person was to write down the worst person in the fucking world, like ask a Trump motherfucking voter or somebody that's loved Trump or motherfucker Trump 2024 shit. Ask them to write down the worst person in the world they can think of. Don't think about the person. Just say what it can be a worse person. A thief? What could be a worse person? A rapist? Ask them to tell you what is a bad person. That's all you need to ask a Trump lover. Before you get to motherfucker policies and about pockets, just ask him that. I guarantee you it's gonna be a problem. Motherfuckers are tripping, bro. We talking about motherfucking human being that's just some pieces, just shit. And the people that say that is just like, bro, you just skipping over a lot of stuff to say you like this person. Like if Trump wasn't existed and your motherfucking project in high school was to write down a person, write down everything traits in a person that's bad, that will make a worst person in the world. Do everything you can. Think of every trait you could think of to build the abominable motherfucking asshole, right? And I guarantee you they come with everything that Trump is. It's the stupidest shit, bro. Like, you cannot disrespect one, you can't rape a bit, right? And then I still run around and say 24. Like we ain't even talking about policy anymore. This is a human being that's a piece of shit. Like, and it blows my mind how you can just get over all that. Anybody that say they about Trump just can forget a lot of shit. 60, 50 bitches that say, hey, he harassed me. He gets sued for it, rape, and found liable. So you can't tell me he ain't a rapist. So it's like, what are we doing, bruh? Like, and then you can't tell me he ain't no motherfucking racist. So it's like, now what is your thing? Like, what can be a bad person then to you? Before a child, again, he in motherfucking child pageants. He's 50 years old. These kids 50, 15, 14. He won't go in the motherfucking dressing room. What about that? That's child pageant. See what I mean? So anything you can think of about a bad person that can be traits of a badass person, the worst person you could think of in the world, traits to build a abominable asshole. Everything you think of will be Trump. Watch this. Watch this shit. I can't wait. I guarantee, I don't know who the new person is. I guarantee she's talking crazy.
Remind the American people about that he did while he was president. That is his main job, is to remind people about the America they lived in when Donald Trump was president.
Is he rusty? It's been 4 years since he's had a debate.
Well, I don't think so. I think you see him, again, doing interviews. You see him out there, of course, on the campaign trail doing rallies. And he's, no different than he was 4 years ago.
Did you honestly think this moment would happen? Because there was a thinking, and President Trump has said this as well, that he didn't think Biden would agree to any debates. Did you think we would ever be here?
That's a great question. I'll be honest, I'm thrilled that we're here, but no, I think it was a surprise to all of us when we heard that not only did the Biden campaign want to
he set this bitch up for that
debate in June, and so of course it's per what Donald Trump said himself, he's here.
I've been asking Biden surrogates, why President Biden chose to have the podium on the right. He got to choose that. Now Donald Trump gets to have the final word. Why did former President Trump want to have this debate standing and not sitting?
Well, I assume it's because he feels that that's a good way to test out somebody's durability and viability. And I think clearly there are a lot of questions about Joe Biden and can he do it? And unfortunately, that's been the focus, where the focus, I believe, should be on the country we're living in. Does it feel like your life is actually trending in the right direction for people?
There have been questions and attacks, though, also on your father-in-law about his age and whether he's all there. Are those fair?
I think it's completely ridiculous. What is the rationale for that? The difference is you look at Joe Biden oftentimes kind of staring off blankly, really getting tripped up on a lot of his words, not really feeling like he's all cohesively there. And I think it does make a lot of people say, what's going on here? This is the leader of the free world.
But I mean, to be fair, your father-in-law also was talking about Nancy Pelosi, and he kept saying Nikki Haley, right? And then he recently was talking about sharks and a shark attack and getting electrocuted, and people were like, what is he talking about?
Exactly.
I mean, those things do happen, though. You got to admit.
Oh, shit. He got his niece as a campaign. Oh, fuck. I should have known.
Term is I mean, it's incomparable. You can't even equate the two.
The Biden campaign has been on offense here, right? They almost took a page out of your guys' campaign playbook. Mary Trump is here, someone who is part of your family, but not very well liked. There's also a billboard. I want to put it up for our viewers. I want to show you. I don't know if you've seen the billboard, but the DNC bought a billboard here in Atlanta.
Very nice.
They put it up. This is what it says: Donald, welcome to Atlanta. For the first time since becoming a convicted felon, congrats or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So they're getting aggressive and they're trying to get under the skin of your father-in-law. Is it going to work?
Well, I think that the point of that is to remind people that Donald Trump is a convicted felon. And I think that has been part of the tactic. And unfortunately for the Democrats, I don't think it's worked. You saw that it changed nothing in terms of polling post-verdict for Donald Trump. In fact, we raised in 48 hours $70 million. 30% of that money came from people who had never once donated to Donald Trump in any election cycle. People don't care about that. They want their country back. They want food more affordable. They want gas more affordable. They don't want to wake up and hear about another war breaking out around the world. They want our southern border closed. These are the issues that matter to people. So look, if you think about getting under Donald Trump's skin, man, they've been coming on strong with Donald Trump for 9 years. I don't think a billboard is going to be a problem.
Do you think former President Trump is going to get a fair debate tonight?
I think it would be
kind
very
of
tough,
a fucking
to
question
be
was
really
that?
honest with you, with all of the accommodations that seem to be
All right,
there
now
for
put
Joe
that to your
Biden.
piece of shit, please.
For
Talk to me like what?
Well, turning off the microphone so that he can't get a little quip in afterward.
I mean, to be fair, he
Why? What do you want to talk over people for?
149 times, I think.
Oh, you have the number.
Yeah,
you have the number.
That's sort of crazy though. 149 times.
Well, I think that the goal is always to make sure that you get your message across, and I think that I understand that they want to turn the microphones off so that people can hear, but you also won't get those great moments like we've seen in previous debates. There was a great one
Like what?
between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton,
What?
the mic drop moment where she said it's a good thing you're not in charge of the law, and he said because you'd be in jail. That really
What?
changed the momentum in a lot of ways for Donald Trump. You know, there's no audience in there. I assume the reason is because they don't
Jail
want a
for
lot
something, nothing.
of noise. Maybe that's
Meanwhile,
distracting to Biden.
34
I don't
counts
know.
for him.
Obviously doesn't bother Donald Trump. He goes in front of tens of thousands of people regularly. The differences
How is that
between
a
this
good
debate and
line?
previous debates are interesting. And then you have the moderators who I'm going to hope, Tom, have a very fair line of questioning, hold both of them to account for everything, because that's how a fair debate should.
They both have great reputations. They've both been covering politics for decades, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. And they both said, and CNN has said, that there's not going to be real-time fact-checking. There'll be fact-checking on websites and then afterwards as well. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I think that we should be fact-checking. I mean, look, it took us 7 years to fact-check the fact that Donald Trump's very fine people hoax was a hoax, that he said, except neo-Nazis and white supremacists who should be condemned totally when talking about Charlottesville. We just learned from Snopes that was all, manufactured. They left out the part where he, of course, did not say neo-Nazis and white supremacists are very fine people.
Bruh, you cannot let her do that.
But it's got to be on both
What
sides.
is she talking about?
Also interpreted those sort of comments different ways, but I understand what you're saying. One of your
You
big
did it
jobs
again,
is
you
gonna be
bitch
on
ass
this
nigga.
convention, right? This big, beautiful convention that's going to happen in Milwaukee, as former President Trump has said. He also says he's going to announce his running mate there, and he's sort of stringing along everybody, right? It almost feels like The Apprentice, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
And they're all here. The people that are at the top of this game, if you will, Governor Doug Burgum, Senator J.D. Vance, and Senator Marco Rubio. Who's going to get picked?
Oh, should we tell everybody tonight right here? Listen,
If it's Governor Burgum, blink. You should blink.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Here's the thing I will say is that we have a great slate of candidates, and Donald Trump wants to choose a person, keeping in mind the fact that when he wins in November, he will only have 4 years. We want to take the America First agenda forward, and he wants to have a running mate who also has the same vision for the future of this country. And all of those
That's a
those
key
folks
point
that you just
that
mentioned are
the
great
MAGA's got to
candidates. They're
understand
great
that this
people
is it. He
who will
can't
do
run
that. And
again
so
after this
whoever
4
he picks,
years.
I think the American
He
people
can't do
will be very
shit. 4 years is all he get.
Maybe not.
Oh,
we play it pretty close in the Trump family.
But he's already told people then.
He's told some people.
He's told some people. Yeah. Okay, I think we had a bit of news there. Laura Trump, we thank you so much for being here. Good luck tonight, and we will see you again, I'm sure.
Thanks.
Okay, we are.
Let me start from the beginning of this garbage. Okay. Fact checking. For real, I don't see why. I don't see why somebody that's doing the actual debate should fact check a person right then and there. I don't think that's their job to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like the debate moderator should just be like, question, then boom, let them go. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you had somebody stop and say, all right, but hold on, but that ain't right. But hold on, but that one right. But hold on, let me give you the real fact. We'd be here all fucking night. You want these niggas to just spit it out. Spit out what you think is the truth, and we'll tell you if it's a lie later. You know what I'm saying? That means they're gonna get all more lies. Let them get all the lies. Shit. Don't deprive the lie. When you start doing that shit, you deprive these niggas from just saying dumb shit.
Closer and closer to 9 o'clock.
Oh, hey there, Tom. Look, it's a little hard to hear you because the music is blaring, as it often is at these watch parties. People are still trickling in. We're a few minutes away. You can see this isn't a hotel, not very far from you, but this is what the Biden campaign is trying to do. They're trying to gin up enthusiasm for this debate. And
everybody got to understand that. It wasn't really a Biden thing. Nah.
It's in every single state.
My
now,
God.
We just met Whitney over here. You're a Joe Biden supporter. Why are you here today, and what do you want to hear from President Biden at this debate?
I'm super excited to be here, and I'm here to support Joe Biden because I definitely feel like his morals and values align the most with mine. I think it's really important that we look out for individuals that cannot look out for themselves, and he's the only candidate on the ballot right now.
Ma'am, you were telling me just a few minutes ago that the top issue for you is reproductive rights. Of course, there was that news today of the Supreme Court decision. How important going into this debate? What do you want to hear from the president, and how can he take on Donald Trump, in your opinion?
Oh, I definitely don't think today is a time to celebrate. I'm glad that they're going to give that exception for emergency situations. But from Joe Biden, I need to hear from him that it is tantamount to his candidacy that he's going to try to restore women's rights.
The polls show many voters across the country have serious concerns about President Biden's age. How do you respond to that? Do you have any concerns about his age going forward?
I don't have any concerns about his age. I think that his mind is still intact. I think that he's still out here fighting and doing the work for the American people. And if all else fails, we've got Kamala to go with.
You know?
This is what we're hearing. These, of course, are Biden supporters.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Kamala.
The campaign is trying to do now that we're into the main stretch of this.
Let's go.
They're really trying to show that once people tune in to this race, that support will increase.
Let's get it.
So, again,
now let me know, man. Who y'all think gonna bust this thing wide open tonight? Who gonna say the most dumbass shit? And who gonna be more important? You know what I'm saying?
Gabe, always great to talk to you. And as our debate countdown takes
Let's
closer
get in it.
to zero, we have two political pros to help us break down the issues and the strategy. Director of Communications for Trump's 2020 campaign, Mark Lauder, joins us back. And Philippe Reigns, former senior advisor and spokesperson for Hillary Clinton. Philippe, I'm going to start with you, right? You played Donald Trump famously in the debate prep for Hillary Clinton. Talk to me about how you created that Trump role and what benefit it was to Hillary Clinton.
Well, Trump created the role, and I think in the years since, we've all had a good dose of it, and most of America could probably put on a pretty good impersonation. You know, part of debate prep, which I know my
first of all, let's talk about debate prep for a minute. Debate prep, first of all, to me, everybody's laughing at Trump. Oh, they talking about Trump ain't doing motherfucking debate prep. But to me, I don't think either one of them need to do debate prep. I don't think Biden should have been somewhere doing a debate prep. I think he should have been somewhere just chilling. Like motherfuckers. They've been running forever. This both been president, my guy. Trump been running for 9 fucking years. Biden been president for the last 4. These motherfuckers can't just walk into a debate without doing prep. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying, dog? Like, bruh, you should automatically just walk in just off the top of your head and start, okay, well, what you need to know, Mr. Motherfucking journalist? You don't know more than me. I'm the fucking president. Now what? What you need to know? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are we prepping for? You know what I'm saying? And then another thing, I just need him just let loose. Don't try to be a presidential or some bullshit bot. Just fucking let go with this clown. You know what I'm saying? Don't try not to cuss, I guess. But just go at him. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? And just to be fair, I'm gonna think Trump should come in that joint with some fucking sense, first of all, and make sense when he ask him about policy. So people can say, at least know what the fuck it is you want to do, bro, because you don't even know. So that's the key. If Trump can express what it is you fucking want to do, other than keep your ass out of jail, you know what I'm saying? And then Biden need a motherfucking express of all the shit he been doing and what he want to do next. You know what I'm saying? And just get down and dirty with him. Y'all keep talking about the don't go low, go high bullshit, man. Y'all better stop playing. This is life or death type shit we talking about. You see with abortion? This shit ain't no joke. Black kids getting killed, baby. Fuck wrong with you? Guns loose in these streets. Let's wake up now. Like, this is life. That's why if I don't like Republicans, but I just wish Democrats was to be like them, like bloodthirsty. Don't give a fuck. They'll run a pedophile, and they just don't care. Like they're trying to steal a whole election. Like they'll run up in the Capitol. Like they don't care. You know what I'm saying, dog? They put people in the motherfucking Supreme Court that would just strike your motherfucking rights. They don't give a fuck. Democrat getting there get squeamy about the shit they want to do. Fuck that. You don't want motherfuckers that have guns all over the place? Ban bullets out this bitch. I dare you bitches to fucking produce a bullet then. Anything past 9 millimeters. Now kiss my ass. You know what I'm saying? That's what a motherfucking Republican do if they had my values. If the Republicans wanted guns out of the street to save my kids and the black culture lives, that's what they would do. You know what I'm saying? They'll say, fuck it. If Democrats are screaming keep your guns and all that, and NRA was with Democrats, I guarantee you, Republicans will figure out some dirty, low down way to get guns out the fucking street. I guarantee you. You know what I'm saying? With the weather, climate, I guarantee you, if Republicans believe in climate, they will kill a motherfucker to make sure their bills pass, to make sure climate change happens. So that's why I don't give a fuck about. That's what my problem with Democrats. They don't go the whole 9, but they'll tell you it's life and death. But they won't do with Republicans. They won't go that 9 yards with Republicans. Fuck Republicans go all the way through the end zone. They don't give a fuck. They going. You know what I'm saying? You got Democrats that get squeamy at the line of scrimmage and get the I don't know though. You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. These niggas just take your whole head off. They don't give a fuck. Long as at the end, Trump is fucking president and they got 9 Supreme Court justices, they don't give a fuck who they killed along the way, bro. Y'all better wake up to that bullshit. Y'all tripping.
Attacks on Hillary, but fast forward to 2020, he really just became very mad, for lack of a better word, about Russia, the impeachment, and then that added on to what he feels was an unfair election, and now the convictions, the gagging. I'm sure he will pretend that he didn't know he's being muted. And the reason I'm going through all that is because in a way, originally, it was easy to trigger him. So, for instance, at the very end of the very first debate, I mean, within seconds of the end, Hillary brought up, I believe her name was Alyssa Machado. She was a beauty pageant contestant in one of, and Hillary said, and Donald called her fat or a cow. And if you watch the response, he gets very unnerved. It is harder to do that with him now because he's in that headspace to begin with. He is erratic in terms of the tenor and the degree of like how much torque he has on attacks. But he's within that bandwidth more than usual that he was in 2016. We gotta go.
Yeah. Philippe, we thank
I
you
thought
for
you
all
would
your insight.
mute me when you were done listening.
Yeah, no. I'm good, man. Philippe, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Mark Lauder, you're a gentleman. Thank you for listening to Philippe as well. I appreciate that. I do want to bring in now our Mount Rushmore of political reporters, if you will. Truly the best of the best here at NBC News. Meet the press moderator, Kristen Welker, national political correspondent, Steve Kornacki, chief political analyst, Chuck Todd, and senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. I also think we almost have, maybe we have a basketball team. I don't know if we have a softball team, but we can definitely do some damage somewhere. Kristen, I'm going to start with you, right? What makes tonight's debate so important?
Well, Tom, a couple of things. I think one, tonight is one of the first really big chances to shake up this race. As we head into tonight, President Biden is trailing within the margin of error with not only nationally, but within key battleground states. And so from the perspective of the Biden campaign, they are viewing this as a chance to change the shape of this race for President Biden to talk about his accomplishments, to talk about what he believes his record is on the border. For example, he just took those executive actions on the border. He's trying to flip the script on Donald Trump, who's obviously made that a critical issue. And also, of course, reproductive rights. He'll take the gloves off, I think, when it comes to Trump's criminal convictions. But Tom, look, you and I were talking about this earlier. I think this debate will be as much about the performances of these two candidates as it is about the policy discussions that we see unfold tonight. If Donald Trump gets on the stage, if he's unhinged, if Biden has a big misstep, those sorts of things could wind up dominating the debate. But again, this debate tonight is a chance for this race to really start to be shaken up.
Chuck, I want you to put this into sort of perspective and give us your insight as well. You know, this is going to be a first in a lot of ways because we don't have the Commission on Presidential Debates taking part in this. The mics are going to be cut off. There's also this issue about fact checks. And as a loyal listener to the Chuck Toddcast, I know you have your thoughts about those fact checks. And you're of the school that is actually not a bad idea. Explain to our viewers why.
No, look, I think that the debate itself, the candidates are there to fact check each other. And ultimately, that's the first place that it should happen. You know, I think I think moderators need to have a light touch on this because there's a fine line between correcting a fact and participating in the debate as looking like you're having the back and forth. And again, you know, when you do that, and even when you don't mean to do it, you're trying. Trust me, we all have, especially when you've run a talk show and you've done your own thing before, you're used to jumping in. But ultimately, the viewer, you're doing a disservice to the viewers. Let's see how the candidates fact check each other on that front. And then look, you do a rigorous fact check in other places, you know, after, you know, and sometimes those things matter a lot. But if you do it in the middle of the debate, you really could disrupt the flow. And again, I really think do a disservice to the voters who are trying to take a measure. Hey, are the two candidates aware? You know, is candidate X aware that candidate Y was just completely wrong about this?
The stakes are so high for President Trump. We've argued that the Trump campaign has sort of lowered the bar for the Biden team. What is a victory for President Biden? Does he have to just survive or does he have to actually deliver?
You know, it's interesting when you talk about this idea of the expectations game, because this has come up in some of my conversations with folks close to both candidates here. And it was encapsulated, interestingly, by two people on very different ends of the political spectrum. Megyn Kelly, on the one hand, suggesting that all President Biden has to do is like not pass out.
Right.
Hillary Clinton suggesting that all former President Trump has to do is not literally light himself on fire. I mean, that's like sort of where things are.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely extremes, but also this idea that for both candidates, you talk about how they're treating this debate. I do get the sense that both of them are treating this with at least the respect that the audience of tens of millions could have, right? Setting aside whether or not we're going to see a more disciplined Donald Trump, whether we're going to see a more energetic President Biden, whatever, the bottom line is they know that there will be eyeballs on this debate and that this is in many ways a key moment to, if not reset where the campaign is, at least press that starting gun in a big way heading into the conventions, and then obviously making that turn after Labor Day for debate number 2. Because remember, there's another debate coming up in the fall when presumably more people traditionally have engaged in the political spectrum.
But that's if it happens. We'll have to see. Maybe that one doesn't even happen. We don't know what happens after tonight. Steve, I do want to ask you, you know, a lot of people, when they're talking about this election, they're talking about 6 on 6, right? There's 6% of voters in 6 states that are going to decide this election, right? What do those voters want to hear about? What exactly do they want to hear to make their decision?
Well, look, I mean, I think they're looking at the same thing voters in every state are looking at here, and it's probably just at a very basic level here, just about how these guys handle themselves. And you know, age obviously looms over this race in a way, this debate in a way that it hasn't in past ones. But the reality of that map you just put up there in terms of where this election is headed, I think is interesting because of those states there, those were Biden states in 2020, all 6 of those. And if you look at the polling right now and you look at the demographics, you see 3 of those that Trump is better positioned in than the other 3. The 3 he's best positioned in, Trump to flip, would be Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. The polling's been better for him there. And where he's made inroads, at least in the polling, has been with non-white voters. Those states have larger non-white populations. But here's the thing for Trump. If he were to flip all of those states, that would get him to 268 electoral votes. You need 270. So he would then need to go into a Wisconsin, a Michigan, or a Pennsylvania and flip one of those states. Flip that around. For Biden, if he can protect those 3 states, call them Midwest, call them Rust Belt, call them Big Ten, even though the Big Ten's in California now, he can probably hold on to the presidency.
Steve, Chuck, before we go, I got the right anchor position. I'm going to now give you the final word. Those are the rules of this broadcast. Final thoughts before we go into this historic debate.
Look, I know a lot of people are looking for fireworks tonight. Look, I think these candidates, one thing to think about here, Both campaigns think they're on a track to win now. Just 6 weeks ago, they didn't. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have two nervous candidates on that stage or more risk averse than we're used to.
All right, Chuck Todd, I want to thank our panel tonight, Chuck Todd, Kristen Welker, Steve Kornacki, Hallie Jackson. We thank you so much. We're going to have so much more coverage as we simulcast this debate coming to you live from Atlanta. It's going to be a huge night for politics, a huge night for this country, and a huge night for the two candidates on stage. We want to thank you so much for watching our special coverage live from Atlanta right here on NBC News Now. We want you to stay right here, though, also as well, because from here, we're going to pick up that simulcast. Lester Holt, Savannah Guthrie, they're going to anchor our coverage as we go into that debate. And again, it's going to be a big night. If you love politics, if you love this country, if you're concerned about who you're going to vote for, you want to watch right now. So stay right there. The first presidential debate is going to begin in just moments. As they give me the 10-second count, this is called stretching. I'm going to stretch just a little bit as we get there. Live look at the spin room right now. We're going to take you into that debate in about 8 seconds. Stay right here. The first presidential debate. It begins.
Tonight, a showdown unlike any other in recent history.
Joe Biden and Donald Trump face to face for the first time in 4 years.
Both men on stage for a historic debate and a pivotal rematch with the White House at stake.
From NBC News, here are Lester Holt and Savannah Guthrie.
Good evening and welcome to the first presidential debate between President Biden and former President Trump, hosted by CNN.
These two men have debated in the past, of course, but this time is going to look a lot different.
The debate is being held at a TV studio after the candidates bypassed the commission that hosted the
I will
debate since
say
the 1980s.
So there is
that
no audience tonight, and the microphones will
Trump
be muted
campaign
after a candidate's speaking time is up.
The debate
did a good job of bashing the motherfucking moderators. Does a good job of that, because now what they're gonna do is try their best to be hard on Biden. Smart.
People with just over 4 months until Election Day. Good evening, I'm Dana Bash, anchor of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen. President Biden will be appearing on the right. A coin toss determined their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response.
Appreciate everybody hanging in for tonight with this watch party. These
When it's time for
two
a
president
candidate to
candidates
speak, his microphone
will be here
will
tomorrow.
turned
Me and the
on,
number one soul
and his
brother
opponent's microphone
to
will be
recap this
turned
stuff.
off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for
Let's
closing
go.
statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes, props, or contact with campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation,
Let's go.
both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
I would introduce him first. That's some dumb shit.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
So he shouldn't have introduced him like that. Supposed to introduce Biden as the president of the United States, motherfucker. So he ain't even acknowledged
Thanks so
Joe.
much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern: the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
You got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a
15 million.
position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, but there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. In a situation and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was impossible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, the bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power.
Now you're getting out of
the most
there?
embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, You take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes.
Hold on,
and
what?
frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people
Hold on,
have to
what?
follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth. If you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided, supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is still back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have, everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the governor, former governor of Virginia,
That's not
put
even
the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
You're lying. That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period, period, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming out.
Thank you, President Trump.
Somebody just lied.
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed 3, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed 3 American soldiers, killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad border, including hundreds of thousands of people dying,
What are you talking
and
about? Yeah.
also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast, because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved.
I don't think they asked him about none of this shit.
We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half, because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
Thank you.
Every single
I don't know
one.
what he was
For
talking
example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And he opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have.
I'll see that.
To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people.
You said that.
It was never said by me.
Huh?
It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
A 4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
move to the topic of foreign policy.
Okay.
I want to begin with Russia's war
Got a man with that
against
one.
Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll
That
only
was
end
Joe
this
Biden's
war
strongest point
if
right now
Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has
in this
already
debate so
claimed
far.
and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all,
Oh, he
our
not gonna answer that
veterans
shit.
and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander in chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight.
Here's the question,
And they
bro.
like me more than just about any of them.
Oh my
And that's
God.
based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine,
Mhm.
if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin,
Hmm?
he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when
Can't
Putin
stop
watched
him
that
when he
and
do
he saw
this?
the incompetence, that he should
What the
have
fuck is
fired
you
those
talking
generals,
about?
like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have
Who
fired
was
those
he?
generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers and 38 soldiers
When
were
they asked him about
obliterated. And by
Putin,
the way, we
oh,
left
really
people
come on
behind
now.
too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never
Hey
would
Joe,
have
you gotta get
invaded
him on that one.
Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been
You
invaded
talked to him. It was his
in a
dream.
million years by Hamas. You know why?
Joe.
Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president.
That's when he
They
was
were
president.
attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. But he didn't do a thing
I think he
when the
gonna get under
attack
his,
took place.
he's getting under his skin now.
Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I
as
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are
Russia?
Putin's terms acceptable
never
to
asked.
you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine.
acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
Wait, what?
Biden, you have a minute.
Do it now then.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of
Watch you blame
hostages.
Biden.
Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
Wait,
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness.
I don't know what he's
This is a guy
saying.
who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. You see what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do
Huh?
that,
But wait.
the problem we
I
have
have to
is that we
see.
spend all the
That's
money.
not an answer.
So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6th,
At this point, I don't understand either one of them.
Your supporters that day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. What? It was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden.
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up to the Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll not forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that there could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming and they left immediately.
Wait.
What he said about this whole subject is so off.
January 6th.
Peacefully patriotic. One other thing.
Wait, what?
The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now out of office.
What?
And Democrats, all Democrats. They destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks.
I do agree, Mr. Judge.
The idea that those
I
people
agree.
are patriots? Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times.
He's not running
Should
for
have been
president.
convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office.
Oh,
Joe
what?
could be a convicted felon with all
Right
of
here,
the
the
things
lines
that he's
of
done. He's done horrible things.
convict
all of the
me
death caused at the border.
of giving everybody health
Telling the
care.
Ukrainian people
Convict
that
me
they want $1 billion,
of
you
capping
change the
insulin at
prosecutor.
$35.
Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion.
Convict
If I
me.
ever said that,
Man, I could have
that's
been your
quid pro
campaign
quo.
manager.
That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor. having
Convict
to
me
do
for
with his son.
$16 billion.
This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky.
I'll
You're
be
lucky.
I'll
I
be a
did nothing
convicted
wrong.
felon for
We'd
all
have a
those things.
system that was
Mr.
rigged and
Trump.
disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said.
Wait.
Sir. You
It's
want
a
to
lot.
respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
Yeah.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant?
Yikes!
What are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give an answer.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started
what?
and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people.
Mr.
and
Judge, did
both
you
the
hear
civil
him just say
and the criminal.
he was messing with a porn
basically went
star
after his
while he
political
was
opponent
married
because he thought it was going to damage
and his
people.
wife
The
was
public
pregnant? Did
found
you
out
hear him
about
say
these
that?
cases because they understand it better than he does. He has no idea what these cases are. But when they
I
found
don't
out
know
about
what
these
Trump
cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers
You
went
don't
up
even
way
talk about
up.
the
You know that
question,
because
though.
you're reporting it.
What do you want
And
to
we
talk
took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't
Wait, what?
win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden,
Wait, you
had
gotta
the
let him
quote,
respond. He just
Donald
said
Trump
he
and
has
his
something to do
MAGA
with him getting 34 count.
are determined to destroy American democracy.
Respond to that,
Do you
Joe.
believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President
Wait.
Trump will be voting against American democracy?
Wait,
The more they know about what he's done, yes.
Joe.
The more they know
Respond to
about
that
what he's
bullshit
done.
first.
And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The people the ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? This is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are.
Say that.
The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
That's good.
Jake,
That's good
both
right
of
there.
you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story.
Hold
and
on,
you'll see
what?
it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor every reasonable anchor has debunked it.
What?
And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked.
What?
It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because
To
of
both
Charlottesville.
sides,
He
you
used
say
that
that?
excuse to run.
President Biden.
Wait,
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president.
Exactly.
Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the window.
Yeah.
We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time.
Damn.
So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be
Good
right
question.
back with more from
That's
the
a good
CNN presidential debate.
That was a good question. So that's the first commercial. All right, bet. All right, now so far, I like it. Now, first of all, two things, right? I don't know what Trump doing. To be honest with you, like, it's every question he says everything, and one question is like he don't answer the question. Like if you ask him about what color is this shoe, he'll say, "Hey, that shoe is a size 6." But you know what? I had went through here and there and then, like, huh? Like, you're losing me, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Then he start ringing off stuff that has nothing to do with this question. Nothing, just nothing. Now, Biden. Now, one thing I got a problem with Biden is he's not flowing off his motherfucking lines clean. Like some of these joints would be, if he say them clean, I know he stutters some shit. But if they be cleaner just when he say them, it come off better. You know what I'm saying? Because god damn, when he said you got the morals of an alley cat, Like, goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Then he actually said, look, bro, you was having sex with a porn star while your wife was pregnant. Like, why are you talking to me right now? Now that there. And then the moderators, I don't like this shit here. It's like it's hard to explain. It's like they don't have a feel for what's happening. Like, don't just say questions and then back up. Then say a question and then back up. At least have a feel for, okay, they talking about motherfucking the prices of groceries. Let's get them to go in depth on what they want to do about it. They ain't do that. They just let the motherfuckers just say anything. You know what I'm saying? Then that was it. Move to the next question. Like, bruh, I don't know what the fuck they just wanted to do or not. You know what I'm saying? You told me the problem, but you ain't give me no solutions from nobody. You know what I'm saying? I just don't. You know what I'm saying? But look, you know what I'm saying? I'm not expecting them to be up there doing a whole bunch of fiery stuff because they both over 75 years old. So most of us help 75 years olds up the stairs and some more good shit. So there's no way we're expecting them to be fiery. But I just need Biden. Now he came on strong. Now Biden came on strong in the last part. So let's get back into. He came on strong in the last end, and he started. I think he started slow. To be honest with you, and the fact that he started slow, I think he started getting comfortable later on, where he started expressing things more clearly and more precise. You know what I'm saying? So I think right about now, I think Biden is hitting his stride. You know what I'm saying? Now Trump, now at this time, after answering the question he answered, I think from this point on, he don't have no more ammo. He literally gonna say the same thing y'all heard from this time. He gonna say the same things from this point on. I guarantee you. But I need the motherfucking moderators to at least ask questions of like to elaborate on some things here. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would you do then since the price is so high?
Shake up the presidential race over the next 5 months. That's all ahead right here on NBC.
From Georgia. Let's talk about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while Black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, Black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
Wait, what?
I acknowledge you made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is more small Black businesses.
Bruh, they named the shit that we've been going through for centuries. This man is motherfucking president for 4 years. She put it all on his lap.
In a long, long time. Number 3, we find him providing housing for Black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that Black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce Black childcare costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for childcare costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those childcare protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any Black family first-time home buyer should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started.
Okay.
I made sure that we're in a situation where all those Black families and those Black individuals who had to take out student loans that were ballooning that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for Black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's
What?
blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing Black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the Black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking Black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking Black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden.
Wait, what?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back.
Exactly.
15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for the health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again. And they're going to try again if they win.
Oh,
We
he's
find
shaking his
ourselves in a
head, no.
position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another
Exactly.
persistent challenge is the climate crisis.
Oh my
2023
God.
was
You
the
don't even use
hottest
climate.
year in
I don't know
recorded
what this
history,
question
and
for.
communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
You don't
Let me just
believe
go
it.
back to what he said about
Oh my
the
God.
police.
Here we go.
How close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the Black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s,
Wait,
we
what?
can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it. And now they see it
Wait,
happening.
what?
But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and
Wait,
for the
wait a
historically Black
What the fuck did Biden
colleges and
say?
universities, where I funded them and got them
Wait,
all
what?
funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know,
sometimes
Tim
I don't know
Scott
what this
was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are Blacks. And that's why
Wait, what?
we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the Black population because he's done a horrible job for Black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs. And
Wait,
it's already
what?
started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've
Wait.
38 seconds
Oh,
left. President Trump, will you take any
Oh.
action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I
What's
want
the more climate?
absolutely immaculate clean water,
What?
and I want absolutely clean air. And we had it. We had H2O.
You had
We
it.
had the best numbers ever. And we
What is
did,
he
we were
talking
using
about, bruh?
all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers
Your best
ever.
years, the
And
air
my
was the
top
cleanest.
environmental people gave me
Like
that
everything
statistic
was
just
so
before I walked
golden
off
when you
stage,
that
actually.
only makes sense.
I don't
It
know
was
where
the
the hell
cleanest
he's
when
been.
you was president.
The
Like, how dumb
idea,
is that? The water was
he
the
says is
clearest.
true. I passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. In history, we find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $50 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have those. They don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money. But now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the
Exactly.
idea that
Appreciate you for that,
he's
Joe.
claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn
Trump ain't
thing about
understand
it.
none
He
of that
wants to undo all that I've done.
at all.
The
Watch
Paris
watch
Accord
this.
was going to cost us $1 trillion, and
Huh?
China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing.
Wait, what?
It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I
Joe,
guarantee you that.
don't even
And I want
respond
to
to
take
that
care
shit,
of
bro.
people. But we're
That ain't just
destroying our country.
blatant lying,
They're
man.
taking
That
over
is
our
stuff is just being
schools, our
stupid.
hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security.
I don't even know
He
what
is
to say no more.
destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
He just talking, man. Now,
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get its pollution under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people to learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay. Thank you. And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
exactly.
Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time of the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus,
2025 project.
supports is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need
Anybody out there right now to check out 2025 project. Public
and
plan.
by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people,
40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is we're in a situation where we talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy.
Hold on.
Lies. I've never seen that he could look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security,
it's a question.
He's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
What?
President Biden?
Don't even respond.
Veterans are not being taken care of. I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired. Because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world.
True.
And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good.
That's true. When you start looking at the facts,
This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world?
Biden, at this point, man,
for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions. Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. Look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal. He reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant.
Just say,
He
at the end of
wants
this,
open
just say
borders.
Munlocking.
He wants our country
Next
to either
question.
be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters.
I don't know
And
what's happening.
I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst.
What was the
in
question
history
then?
by
Now I
far.
forgot the question now.
Thank you,
God
President
damn.
Biden.
We are the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history, one through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden.
Facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable if you want to
Yeah, what the fuck?
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax credits to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4
When he
to
say
5
that,
times.
he's talking to me
Nobody
in
ever
this
heard
right
of this
now.
before.
He's not talking to
All
you.
my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
Okay, that worst president thing touching his
The
nerve.
fact of the matter
Stay on
is
that,
that he's
Biden.
dead wrong about. He's increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But his tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming into the country. You know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that were imported. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. Middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You have the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost.
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of
No,
Americans
he
that
cut
both
off
of you have
Biden
made
a
a
lot.
top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the
border. I
treatment they need?
guarantee you the border.
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question
He
was,
never
what are you going
asked
to
the
do to help
question.
Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border were it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border.
Let's
the
not
worst thing I've
throw.
ever seen.
Let's just
And
throw
the
banana
numbers that
salad in
nobody's
here
ever
too.
seen
Let's
under
throw
him,
some
because the border's so bad.
BLTs in it too. Let's
But
just
the
throw
number
everything
of
in the
drugs
conversation.
coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden.
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does.
You always gotta go back to him.
He ended Remain in Mexico.
Huh?
He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage, we always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had two cases where he paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of
Literally
you.
don't answer no question.
President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability
That was
to
a
handle the
loaded.
toughest
She
job
never.
in the world
That's fucked
well
up.
into your 80s?
How she did that.
Well, first of all, I
That's fucked up.
spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent.
Yeah, it's the
I
same
think
thing.
just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 50 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought off a lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call them, to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and our those who he cuddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc., they don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie, that he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I had, you know, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins? And
Loaded question.
you will say right now that political violence in any form
Here you
is
go.
unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me.
He indicted you.
I wish he was a great president.
Joe, you got to respond to that.
I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him.
Go.
He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, You want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the
He never
results of
answered the
this
question,
election,
bruh.
regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said. if
It
you
is.
mind.
He's not gonna answer.
Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden.
Huh?
They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this?
So
He's
ask
got
him,
us
what are
in
you gonna
such a
do then?
bad
Be
position right
president.
now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He
Huh?
said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions.
Huh?
Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was,
I
will
don't
you
even
accept
know.
the results of the
He
election,
never answered that
regardless of
question.
who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good
Oh,
election,
no.
absolutely.
No.
I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week.
What?
We'll have another one of these in a week.
You
But
could be sentenced
I
in a
will
week, though.
absolutely. There's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier
You
for
might
me
be
to
in
do
jail,
that
fool.
than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's
What?
destroying our country. I
You've
would
been
be
running for
very
9
happy to be
years. What was
someplace else
this?
in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven
Joe, you
them
gotta
up to
address
a
that
very high
locked him
level
up shit.
because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential
Whoa.
debate, live from Georgia.
Whoa. Okay, hold up. A couple things, right? We got two things going on here. You got Trump is literally not answering no question, but he's using his time up, which will get all his talking points out or his stunt speech stuff out, which will have most of his fans and people that love him going to just be loving this, eating this all up because he's getting all their talking points out. But it'd be a question about green and he going on talking about yellow. And it's just like, what? And then he started bringing up pink, blue. It's like, bro, what? Hold on. And then let's get back to the question I asked you again. You remember that one? You got 30 seconds left. No, I don't remember that one. He started telling you some other shit again. It's like, then Biden, he stuttered a lot, first of all. And then he take too long. Like whoever prepped him gave him too many words to be saying. Like your rebuttals be short, crisp, and sweet. Just that's it. Boom, move on. You know what I'm saying? They give him lines to keep talking, and then fall into a stutter. Then you keep talking. Then you got stutter, and then remember. Like, come on, bruh. Who wrote this shit for you? Like, why would they do that? Like, bruh, just go out that joint, answer the question, and let it go. Boom. Trump will take it from there. You know what I'm saying? He barely answered one question yet. I haven't heard him ask him one question. So he made it a whole hour almost, and they answered really no question. So I don't know what the fuck. I'm really confused on how. I get the moderators cannot. That's why I said earlier. Like, I get you don't want to keep interacting with this shit. But if you talk about something like you just asked Trump about the election, right? And he kept on talking about something else. So I'll give you credit for keep bringing it back to him. Like, hold on, but this was the question. This was the question. But eventually you gotta just say no. Your time up. You didn't answer the question I asked you. Now let's go here. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's just giving him more time to spill more bullshit. It's like, no, he all his time up to say stump speeches, one-liners that he say to his crowds a lot. And then when you say, what about it? Hold on, let's get back to the question. You got 30 seconds left now. Can you answer the question? Hold on. Let me get back to what Joe just said. Like, what? It's just like chaos, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and then I get Biden 2 points in this whole joint so far, was the line he just dropped just now. And then one earlier when he said he was having sex with a porn star. Wow, his wife was pregnant. Yikes. That was a real tough one there. Real tough.
Join us for analysis of tonight's key moments.
Our team of political experts will break down how this night could shake up the presidential race over the next 5 months. Back to Atlanta now.
Candidates to deliver their closing statements as predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We found ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes. We will not, and if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
So we've been watching the wrap up there of the debate. Former President Trump making his closing statement, wrapping up the first presidential debate hosted by CNN, with Mr. Trump facing off against President Biden.
The two men debated for about an hour and 40 minutes or so and clashed repeatedly on the major topics of the day, including economy, abortion, immigration, childcare, Social Security, and of course, the key issue, the competence of both men, both one of the oldest presidents in history, if elected.
The candidates also traded several personal attacks. We heard about golf scores, among other things. It was a very, very contentious debate. Let's bring in Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker, and in the debate spin room, senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson. And Kristen, let me begin with you. What are the headlines being written right now about this debate?
Well, Lester and Savannah, there's no way to sugarcoat this. This night got off to a tough start for President Biden. He delivered a performance that was at times halting. At times, he seemed to lose his train of thought. At times, he started to talk about one topic, for example, the economy, and then shifted to Afghanistan, which gave former President Trump an opening. The topic of abortion, his strongest topic coming into tonight. He raised the issue of immigration, which gave former President Trump an opening. As the night progressed, he did begin to pick up steam. He had some really strong moments on the issues of what his administration, for example, has done for veterans. But zooming out, this was a debate about performance. This was a debate about allaying Americans' concerns about his ability to serve another 4 years. And I and a number of reporters at NBC News have heard from a range of Democrats who have said that they are concerned by tonight's debate. One telling me of this race, quote, "This is effectively over." This person predicting, look, Democrats are still going to stand by Biden, despite the fact that you do have some Democrats tonight wondering if that will be the case moving forward. But there has been some tough language that people have been reaching out to offer in terms of the performance that they saw tonight from President Biden. It is also important to note, former President Trump unleashed a torrent at times of misinformation, some of which President Biden fact-checked, some of which went unanswered. You have to wonder if the format of this debate, the fact that the mics were muted, may have played a role in this. But again, a slow start to this debate for President Biden. He did pick up steam. We'll have to see how people play it.
Let's go to Hallie Jackson, who's in the spin room down in Atlanta.
All right,
I mean,
all right, hold on.
here's a race that
I don't want to hear about
in some ways was
Hallie Jackson
essentially
right now.
tied, perhaps, at Donald Trump in the most of the national polls.
All right. First of all, appreciate you. Anybody been tuning in tonight, man, watching this debate with me, man. Appreciate y'all a whole lot. We'll definitely be here tomorrow night. Me and my man, the number one soul brother. You know what I'm saying, dog? Anybody don't know? If you're new here, appreciate you a whole lot for tuning in. If you've been here before, you know for a fact what happens here. We be hunting maggots and coons. You know what I'm saying, dog? But the debate was tonight, you know. I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight for sure. And my whole stepping back of this joint, right, is Trump was Trump and Biden was Biden. They was who they were. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know Trump don't answer no questions. He gonna say the whole bunch of stuff that he always say. that nobody know, but MAGAs know what he talking about. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he did. We had Biden here stumbling and bumbling all over the fucking place. You know what I'm saying, dog? But at the end, I get to him. He did get strong. I say for the middle of the motherfucking joint, he did get stronger, like I said earlier and shit. But when he began off the joint, it was like, and some of that came from the monitors too. It was like moderators, because they would cut him off a lot. You know what I'm saying? And ask him some off the wall question before they get to Trump. You know what I'm saying? It'd be something like, all right, African American unemployment, African American housing is higher than white people. Black women unemployment is higher than white women. Like, what the fuck? That's been like that for decades. That's our problem. That's what we've been trying to tell y'all. How the fuck he been here for 3 years and now you asking him why he ain't changed that? That was some wild shit right there. That's the only thing. And then there was another question he just threw out the blue. Was like, you'll be 87 at the end of this next term. Like, who gives a fuck about how old he is at the end of this shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like some of these questions was like thrown at Biden was like some joints where it was more like a media thing. Like the media feel like he too old, right? So I'm gonna ask this question. You'll be 87 at the end if you be, you know what I'm saying? If you be elected at the end of that term. You know what I'm saying? It's like, huh? It's a way for her to put the number on it, like the 87, to make you think about, dang, he 87 years old. You know what I'm saying? And then that was odd too. But overall, right? Me and my man, number one soul brother, gonna get deeper into this shit tomorrow night live. You know what I'm saying? As we usually do. Anybody don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Me and number soul brother be here live every Tuesday night and Friday nights live talking politics. You know what I'm saying? But I just know for a fact that was a clusterfuck, bruh. It was just like the only person that gave any information was Biden, really. And then when the information he gave, you couldn't understand what the fuck he was trying to give. Now, the second half, you understood him. I don't know why at the beginning. I don't know. The question was shaky at the beginning. I think them kind of threw him off. But the stuttering and which I knew he was gonna do, but I don't know. It just seems like he don't seem like. And then I think his voice was hoarse or some shit. Like, what y'all been doing? Why y'all have him talking? If y'all prepping all this time, why he using his voice? Why he just relax and just listen to us put these, you know what I'm saying, get your notes together and everything. Not you in here talking and screaming your damn self. And then when it's time for you to do the joint, now you nobody even understand. You already stuttering. Like, bruh, hold on. What? You know what I'm saying? Then you got Trump over the joint saying, you ask him a question, what color is your socks? You know what? I had a building down New York Avenue, and you know, and then the car drove past, and don't forget, I got the biggest number. It was the baddest car anybody would know. Don't forget my golf swing. Like, this be like, hold on, what? Hey, bro. It's like, hold up. All right, whatever you just said. Let's get back to the question I just asked you again. It's 20 seconds left. It's like, what the fuck? You go to buy it, here you go. Here, forget something, then bring it back up. Then it's like, bruh, what are y'all motherfuckers doing? Jeez. All right, Friday night, tomorrow night, live. You know what I'm saying, dog? Live. Me and my man, we're gonna really dive into this joint and dissect this this debate for sure. And we got motherfucker my man, one of these fools that Trump got out here that's black, boy. He got a little barbershop thing he did. He set up for Trump, and Trump didn't even show up to the motherfucker. Hey, me and my man No Soul brother, we're gonna get into that tomorrow for sure. And this debate, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna get deeper into the debate, you know what I'm saying? And trust me, one of these nights, if not Tuesday night, we're gonna get deeper and talk in depth into Jim Crow, the beginning of Jim Crow, what was the faults of it, who was doing it, and why they was doing it, and the results of what they was doing in Jim Crow, what got us in the situation we are, because there's a lot of videos going around. We got racist pigs talking about, hey, 400 years ago, why y'all still whining and all that bullshit? You know what I'm saying? It's like, that irritates me, because it's like, bro, when did shit stop? Like, did it stop yet? You know what I'm saying? We just screaming Black Lives Matter 3 years ago. This bitch going on her joint. Man, I don't even want to go on further, but I'm gonna go a little bit more for a minute. She gets on a video and say black people can go back home. You know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, what are y'all talking about? They way off the, like, you can't get no racist, then you go back home. Like, what? So yeah, tomorrow night, man, we're gonna go so deep into all this stuff that there, people being racist. And it's just like, it all comes from people giving the green light like Trump. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is happening, bro? The stuff that's coming out. You know what I'm saying? But check us out tomorrow night, man. We appreciate y'all a whole lot. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, live, streaming on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Catch us tomorrow. We're gonna go into this motherfucking debate deeper, where we can fact check everybody and all that good stuff. But my initial response, y'all hear it, you know what I'm saying? So we don't know what no one soul brother feel about the debate yet. So when he come in tomorrow, y'all get his response for the debate. You know what I'm saying? But until then, we both appreciate everybody that tunes into our podcast for sure. We just here to spread information to the black culture, you know what I'm saying, so they can make the right decision. You know what I'm saying? We don't like no racists. We don't like racist sympathizers. We don't like black people that help racists. And we don't like misleaders. So that's what we do. You know what I'm saying, dog? That's our purpose. Thanks a lot, Mr. Judge, for coming in tonight, watching this debate with me. You know what I'm saying? Just checking this thing out. Me and you saw the same thing. You know what I'm saying, dog? We saw the same thing eye for eye. Eye for eye. You know what I'm saying, dog? I think me and you on the same page on most of this. It was complete waste of time and garbage. And then Trump was just all over the place. It was just too much for me, bro. You know what I'm saying, dog? But I appreciate you a whole lot, Mr. Judge, for tuning in. Check us out when we get in this joint. Me and my man, my partner, number one soul brother. Check us out when we come back in, you know what I'm saying? And really get deeper into this, whatever this was we just saw, you know what I'm saying? Whatever that was.
Talking about politics coming from a view of the streets, you know what I'm saying, dog? We're not coming from professional view. We're not lawyers, none of that shit that's on TV, you know what I'm saying? We come straight from the hood.